This show is brought to you by KetConnection.com, draft beverage supplies and solutions. Cat Connection has the experience and the expertise to get you set up. Tap your favorite craft beer, homebrew, wine, cold brew, kombucha, sparkling water, and more at home with ease using a KetConnection.com dispensing kit. Go to KetConnection.com, use our promo code BNW, that's for Booze News Weekly, and save 10% off your first order. Some restrictions may apply. Visit KetConnection.com for more details. Coming up on this episode of Booze News Weekly, Sycamore Brewing versus Stone lawsuit update, Homebrewers Opening Prodigy Brewing in Utah, and Latin American Brewers Go Direct. It's Monday, May 23rd, 2022. Welcome to this episode of Booze News Weekly, your source for weekly beverage industry news and commentary delivered quickly and conveniently. My name is Joshua Stubing. If you haven't already, click that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification icon to make sure you never miss an episode. Now let's take a look at the headlines of the week. Our first headline comes from WSOCTV.com. Brewery lawsuit over Keep It Juicy trademark dismissed, court documents say. A Charlotte-based brewery's lawsuit claiming copyright infringement on the phrase "keep it juicy" has been dismissed according to court documents. Sycamore Brewing has claimed for months now that California-based Stone Brewing violated its trademark on boxes and cans sold by Stone. Earlier this month, a judge ruled that Stone had to stop selling certain cans of its beer and cover up labels on drinks already in stores. On Friday, though, the case was dismissed after Stone Brewing filed a countersuit against Sycamore that said Stone discovered a Connecticut brewery has been using the same phrasing for years. According to Stone Brewing's counterclaim, quote, at least 2 years prior to Sycamore's alleged first use of the tagline, another craft brewer, Two Roads Brewing Company, which distributes in at least 14 states and internationally, began continuously and conspicuously using the phrase on a variety of its IPAs. Stone asked the court to cancel Sycamore's trademark registration on the phrase "keep it juicy" and words like juiciness, and a judgment that Stone's use of the phrase is not a trademark infringement. Stone also asked the court to require Sycamore to pay for all of Stone's attorney fees and costs related to the lawsuit and the cost incurred by the injunction that required Stone to cover its labels. Quote, they, Sycamore, must reimburse Stone under federal and North Carolina law for the substantial cost and attorney's fees Stone has incurred in defending itself against this utterly baseless lawsuit and complying with an injunction that was obtained on a false factual record, the suit reads, An attorney for Sycamore Brewing told Channel 9 that a settlement was reached in the case. Quote, Sycamore got what it came for. It has protected its trademark rights. The parties came to a settlement yesterday, and now they can concentrate on what is really important, making beer, the attorney said. A representative for Stone Brewing said the company was working on a statement that would be released when the agreement was finalized. Details on the settlement weren't disclosed in the available court documents. In case you didn't know, because I hadn't covered the original lawsuit, yeah, Stone had to go to court because this one company out of Charlotte was saying that, oh, keep it juicy is our thing. And I think right now what we could all agree on is it's a good time to be a lawyer for Stone Brewing. I bet those guys are banking. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Keep it juicy. To me, as a home brewer, someone who's been in the industry for a while, when I hear juicy, I think of a style of beer. I do not think of a brewery. That word doesn't trigger any kind of trademark tagline for any kind of brewery. I think of juicies, double IPAs, hazies, New Englands, all those. I don't think of, whoa, that's Treehouse or that's Stone or that's Sycamore. So should you be able to even trademark a line like that? Like sometimes IP laws and intellectual property laws, mind boggle me, or they boggle my mind, because I just don't understand how some things can be trademarked and others can't. It's like that. Didn't Paris Hilton at one point trademark "That's Hot" or something along those lines? I don't know if she was successful, but I believe that was her plan, where, I go outside and say "That's hot" because I live in Texas and I owe her a nickel or something. I don't remember the details, but anyways, let me know what you think about this story in the comments below. And speaking of homebrewers, moving on to our second headline from the Salt Lake Tribune, homebrewers prepare to open Logan's first craft brewery. Now, real quick, let me preface, this is a hyper-local story, and it's so it may not have any interest to you, but for me, it's one of those heartwarming ones because I like seeing homebrewers succeed. So, when Prodigy Brewing opens in June in a 122-year-old building in Logan's downtown, it will not just be the first brewery in Logan, Utah, but the first in Cache County. In June, it will also be exactly 10 years since Jason and Kristen Smith moved to Utah from Kentucky. Quote, "It was the first time that we've lived in a community the size of Logan where there's not been a brew pub," Kristen Smith said. The Smiths co-own Prodigy at 25 West Center Street in Logan, along with Jason's friend Rob Paul. The two have known each other since kindergarten, and their friend Matt Clybourne. 15 years ago, Kristen Smith said, Jason started homebrewing and Rob started homebrewing. And then in Kentucky, we met Matt. So he's been homebrewing for a really long time, and I guess they've gotten pretty good at it. I only hope that people say that about my homebrew. The friends heard, quote, "a lot of rumblings over time about getting a brew pub started in Logan," she said. As it turned out, they were all urban legends or misinformation. The city's been super great and welcoming to us. What hasn't been super great was COVID-19, which slowed construction and added delays to sourcing brewing equipment. Now, they are set up to open the doors in just a few weeks. The brew pub, again, located at 25 West Center Street, for any of y'all who happen to be in this area, will be similar to such Salt Lake City establishments as Squatters, which brews and serves beer, but can serve food to anyone in its restaurant. Kristen Smith said Prodigy is intentionally family-friendly and wants anyone in Logan to be able to visit. With hours stretching to midnight on weekends, the brewpub will also offer one of the few late-night food options in the city. The beer, she said, will be mostly, but not entirely, traditional. Quote, "We acquired some German lagering equipment, so we're going to do some traditional German-style beers, very traditional IPAs and stouts and porters, and all of that good stuff," she said. Continuing, "Our assistant brewer is really extremely creative." I like that, really extremely. "So he has many ideas. He's been tinkering with his homebrew system and has done a number of really cool things. Once we get our state down in these traditional beers, we're super excited to unleash him and see what happens and have some interesting things planned too." Smith said that she and the co-owners have found the Utah brewing community to be extremely welcoming and that their support has been invaluable as they've worked to get the brewery open. Quote, "I can't tell you the number of breweries we reached out to when we were purchasing our equipment just to get a better idea of what would really fit us best," she said. "We've made such great relationships with a number of different breweries just by asking questions. Did you have this problem? Was there something that you ran into? How did you navigate this? How did you find this ingredient?" So forth and so on. And everyone's just been great. See, it's a feel-good story. That's what I like about it. Again, these hyper-local ones I don't always source for the show, but I'm including this because I think my pop watches this show. And Dad, look, let's take it pro. Homebrewers can do this. No, the key part of this, I think, is having capital, finding the equipment, and being confident in your brewing. And two of those three things I'm still working on. But anyways, if you're in that area, let us know what you think when they open up. The brewing scene in Utah, to me, seems like it's still in a weird spot. It's this nice renaissance of homebrewers experimenting and craft breweries opening up. I don't know if it's because they still have archaic alcohol laws over there. I don't know. I'm speculating just because Utah, to my little anecdotal bubble, doesn't seem like a beer state in the traditional sense, like a Colorado, an Oregon, a California. But if you're in that scene, let me know. What do you think about the Utah brewing scene? Is home brewing where innovation's happening, or do y'all see a lot of stuff happening in the craft beer scene? And our last headline for this week comes to us from Reuters. Cold beer to your door. Brewers in Latin America go direct. With COVID-19 lockdowns normalizing home delivery of everything from fast food to aspirin, brewers are tapping into a lucrative new sales format, delivering cold beer on demand to consumers still gathering at home with friends, even as bars reopen. For Brazilian Rafael Maeza, it is cheaper to order beers for delivery to his home than to drive to the supermarket to pick up a pack and risk them being tepid when he returns. Quote, "There is no supermarket near my house. I'm too lazy to go to the market," relatable, "and the drink is not completely cold there, so it is better to order," the 24-year-old investment analyst in the Sao Paulo region said. The world's largest brewer, Anheuser-Busch InBev, saw orders at its cold beer service Z Delivery, launched in its second largest market, Brazil, in 2016, explode during the pandemic from 1.5 million in 2019 to 62 million last year. In Mexico, its rival Heineken last year launched delivery service Glup, also focused on direct-to-consumer cold beer. Latin America has proved a natural fit for the format, with consumers typically having limited refrigeration capacity and a shared love of gathering for events like soccer matches. A particular draw this year as fans gear up for November's World Cup, the world's biggest sporting event. The end of lockdown restrictions has not ended the segment's growth, though. Quote, home has become the entertainment hub, and there's no better way to reach consumers than with direct retailing, said Euromonitor drinks analyst Spyros Malandrakis. AB InBev Chief Executive Michael Dukaris says e-commerce complements rather than replaces in-store purchases, citing the example of friends gathered for a sports match running out of beer. Quote, usually people don't go out to buy more beer, he said, but having the delivery in 30 minutes or less allows you to expand the number of occasions for beer before people think about opening a bottle of wine or mixing spirits. Sales on AB InBev's e-commerce platforms dominated by Z Delivery rose 62% in 2021 to more than 500 million globally. But crucially, it is not just additional revenue that beer delivery brings, but also data on who is buying when and what brands they select. That allows companies to tailor marketing to specific consumers, better manage inventories, or trial new products, and get better and faster feedback than traditional consumer sampling. Selling straight to the consumer allows brewers to access this level of detailed data direct for the first time. Quote, just the value of that will justify all the investments we make in direct-to-consumer by themselves, said Dukaris. One of those has got to be right. Some smaller craft breweries aside, beer has been late to e-commerce compared with wine and spirits, which currently account for 40% and 42% of the online alcohol market, respectively, against an 18% share for beer, cider, and ready-to-drink beverages combined, according to IWSR Drinks Market Analysis. By 2025, however, beer and the others are expected to increase their share to 28%, taking ground from wine and spirits, which are seen retreating to 32% and 40% respectively, in an online alcohol market 66% higher at $42 billion. Cold delivery is just a part of that, with much of the beer ordered online by consumers included in a weekly shop, while in developed markets, bigger brewers focus on selling systems and kegs, allowing consumers to pour their own draft beer. But AB InBev's Z Delivery dominated e-commerce platform sales grew at least twice as much the rate of its direct-to-consumer sales as a whole last year. Quote, we know that for a fact the majority of categories that start with a very small penetration, and there is a kind of tipping point when the volume of e-commerce goes to more than 3 to 4%, then it accelerates very, very fast, he said. Brazil has broken that barrier. Since the pandemic began, AB InBev has expanded the Z Delivery model to 10 other Latin American countries and is now considering other markets outside the region. Quote, as we get more maturity in Latin America, for sure we are going to be willing to evaluate mature markets as well, because we know convenience is something consumers like, said Pablo Paniza, AB InBev's global head of sales. The pandemic not only spurred at-home consumption, but also led to the temporary easing of restrictions that had previously hindered growth. Some Indian states allowed alcohol sales through food delivery apps, while a number of U.S. states also allowed alcohol makers to bypass wholesalers and sell directly to customers. How long the relaxation in India will last is yet unclear, but a bill in California will seek to make the temporary easing there permanent. There are threats to expansion, however, with the prospect of sharply rising inflation looming, especially in emerging markets. Heineken, for one, has recognized that lower disposable income due to high overall inflation could have an impact on growth at some point. But beer has a reputation as, quote, cheap entertainment, former AB InBev finance chief Felipe Dutra said during their last financial crisis. And brewers have managed to increase sales in the first quarter, even with higher prices. This is partly because of the emergence from the pandemic, with even drinkers at home now more likely to have friends over. Quote, "It's extremely difficult to put this back in the box," said Euromonitor's Malandrakis. "It's something consumers have started to get used to." Now, you might remember, I think the first episode or second episode of Booze News Weekly, we talked about beer sales, e-commerce sales, alcohol e-commerce sales in the United States just going through the roof. And it made sense because, golly, the last year we have, there are still some communities where I won't say they're in lockdown in this country because I don't know. I'm in Texas. We've been the Wild West for 2 years basically, but it makes sense that more people are utilizing stuff like curbside or delivery to home. I've been doing that more with groceries and food options and all that, mainly because of laziness. The first guy they quoted in here, I already forgot his name, and I mispronounce it anyway if I tried to do it again. It's so convenient. Call me lazy, whatever, but it's super convenient when you have stuff delivered to you and it's like a $2.99 add-on to it. Or curbside at my grocery store doesn't cost anything if you're not trying to get it the same day. They don't pad anything to it. So for sake of convenience, yeah, I love to. Here's my grocery list. I'm going to come pick it up. So the fact that it's bleeding into Latin American markets now makes total sense. I wish, not to dog on AB InBev because they're AB InBev. Obviously, these massive conglomerates have the resources to exploit this market, and I mean exploit in the good kind, like to penetrate the market and to test it out because they've got the kind of R&A or R&D rather, research and development money to put into projects like this to see if it'll work. It would be nice to see or to know, because Reuters didn't necessarily cover it, how the local scene is doing. Are they allowing Joe Schmo's little microbrewery or nano brewery to also distribute locally to, direct to home? Because I don't know about Latin America, but I know about Texas and some other states where it's been a real difficult thing getting breweries to even be able to sell beer to go out of their own tap rooms. That's a recent concept to us in Texas, and I'm sure other states don't even allow it still, but either way, I think it's great. Having it delivered to home is a win-win. If you're drinking at home, you're probably less likely to drink and drive. That's always a plus. You're probably saving a little bit money by not going out, because I know the more I drink when I'm out, the more friendly I get. And I'm like, I'm going to get around for my friends. I don't have a lot of friends, so it doesn't get that expensive, but either way, this seems like a win-win to me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below so I can wrap up the show. Beer at home, is it something you're utilizing, whether you homebrew or get it delivered? What do you think about that concept? And let me know your thoughts on any of the stories below, or email me, joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. And that'll do it for this week. If you have any tips or industry news, email it to me, joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, or use the hashtag BNW on social media. Also, you can find this episode and so much more content and articles available at homebrewhappyhour.com. Make sure you visit our show sponsor, KegConnection.com, and use our promo code BNW for 10% off your first order. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.